and welcome to the Power Gamer Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Dawson, joined by a crispy Johnny Paulus.
I'm not crispy. I told you I had corn nut crumbs on my shirt, and I got them off. We're good. I saw a new chili lime or chili spice corn nut. I had to give it a shot. You know.
How were they?
They're
chili
good.
Lime. Yeah.
They're good. They didn't overdo the flavor. You know, sometimes corn nuts they go a little overboard, and you're like, this is too much. It doesn't taste like a corn nut anymore. But no, the chili lime, I'm happy to report, they taste like corn nuts with just a little spice.
Did you wash it down with an ice cold Coca-Cola Classic?
Coke Zero, man, come on now.
Same difference in 2022.
No, it is.
Well, very good. I'm glad that you're satiated and that you've had a pleasant snacking experience.
Indeed, I did.
And I'm sure everyone is glad to share that moment in your life with you for all time.
I mean, hey, you're the one that brought it up. I snuck it in right before the countdown finished, but you were the one that decided. Time,
this moment in history will exist in audio and video format, where we get to relive this moment post chili lime corn nuts.
So. Someday in the future, when the Power Gamer podcast blows up, they're going to be like, "Oh no, Johnny likes the chili lime corn nuts." If you go back to episode 90 and listen to the beginning, he talked about it. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows that's his favorite snack.
That's actually a fun topic to maybe grace on here before we get rolling, and that is the Power Gamer podcast blowing up. So we've been doing some different stuff lately, some different things, and we've expanded into YouTube every week. I'm a little late sometimes because it's a lot of work to get those videos up on YouTube, and you know, honestly, a podcast, my first priority is getting it out to the RSS so people can listen to it, because I think where most people listen to podcasts is in their vehicles, probably.
Agreed. Yep.
But we are making efforts to keep it up on YouTube every week. I'll be getting last week's up and this week's, like, in the next day or so.
Cool.
But we have been expanding into TikTok. But more importantly, there's efforts just on building communities. And, you know, Johnny has talked a lot about his Twitch stream at Hell Hero, which we always have to stop and specify the spelling because it's H3RO, H3LL. But I've expanded into that foray as well again here. And you can find on Twitch a much easier name to spell. It's just Focus Mike D. Obviously, Mike D is short for Mike Dawson, so easy to remember, hopefully. And we're both kind of tackling different things.
Yep.
You're always a mixed bag on Twitch.
Yep.
You know, you bounce between super sweaty competitive multiplayer. You've got parties going a lot with other people.
Yep.
And you'll bounce between that and single player games as your tastes vary.
Well, I think that I try to be the late night hangout streamer. Like the night owls, those of us that like to stay up till 2 a.m. Most of us do it alone, right? Everybody goes to bed and we're playing video games or watching YouTube or whatever late at night. That's you can just come pop into my channel. If it's midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'm probably there. I'm probably playing something, and we can chat about whatever and have a drink, whatever.
Yeah, and I've since returning back in the day, I used to stream all my sim racing stuff, and I think the ship's kind of sailed for me in that, just as my interest has changed. But this past month, a lot of the games I'm going to talk about here on the show, I've been playing on a stream for the first time in years. And kind of what's cool is, as Johnny was mentioning, late night is sort of both me and him's hour to shine, or 4 or 5 hours to shine every evening.
Yep.
And we've both been going at the same time of night. And my first concern was like, let me just try this out. And, you know, just make sure that we're not vulturing one another when we do it. Mm-hmm. And as far as I can tell, it seems like we're both pulling from different pools, so to speak. So
Yeah.
just kind of, and we both do very different things. Like you've been working on Overwatch a lot and the Far Cry series.
Yeah.
I just did Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake, and now I'm actually playing the original on physical media that I've converted over so I can stream it. Some classics. So I've been working through Silent Hill as a hat tip to.
So how are you streaming PlayStation 1 Silent Hill?
Well, Johnny Paulus, I'm glad you asked. So
I'm curious.
Yeah. What I'm doing is I bought a converter that will take composite video. Now, for those not familiar with the lingo, that's the 3 cable red, white, yellow. And my Switch will convert it to HDMI. But I specifically, and if you're into retro gaming or you want to get into, either making videos with your old actual retro games versus using emulation software, you'll need some sort of converter to flip, either composite or component to HDMI so it'll speak to a capture card. But what's really important is you'll find lots out there that only spit out in 16:9. And you need to make sure that you specifically buy one. They'll usually have a switch on it. Mine does. That I can output native 4:3 or 16:9. So that sounds very technical, but that's just to say, if you think back in the day when the old Nintendos and stuff were out, we didn't have these rectangular TVs. They were all square. And so things were designed to output as a square. And so if you try and take an image that's supposed to be a square and bring it to a rectangle, it's going to get all stretched out and look fucking terrible. So, I use a converter that outputs to HDMI in a 4:3 aspect ratio. And that's the magic sauce that makes it work. And it looks fucking great out on stream.
Yeah, it looks good.
And, there's just something to be said for the native graphics on the native hardware and the native aspect ratio. Emulation's wonderful. And you get some really great graphical improvements with emulation. But it's always strange looking because when these old games were developed, they were developed with the current technology in mind. Mm-hmm. And so, going back and playing Silent Hill, if I was playing that on an emulator, it just wouldn't look right. It's too clean. And, these take advantage of the old scan lines and the 4:3. Being able to achieve that on a broadcast has been really great. And I've got a ton of people coming by just like, the fuck? You're streaming Silent Hill? What? Because I'm probably the only guy doing it. And then I hold up, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm playing Silent Hill, I'm playing on one of these. They're like, how the fuck? And so usually the first 30 minutes of my streams are just explaining to people how I'm doing it and
right.
And they're like, well, you have Silent Hill on disc? That game's super fucking rare. And I'm like, well, I've got this, big collection or whatever. So I
thought of 2 random questions for you regarding this streaming with real hardware, 4:3 aspect ratio, all that.
Sure.
Question number 1, is there a way that you could take that HDMI signal that you're actually viewing on the computer screen and apply a CRT filter to simulate that look? Is there a way to do that? Because that's the only thing that would seal it even better if you could find a way to take that video feed and apply that CRT.
There are some products for some specific consoles that you have to hardwire to the console.
Gotcha.
That can achieve that. But for the sake of just running through an Elgato capture card, no.
Right.
No. Emulation's there. A lot of emulators are doing that now, but it still just doesn't look right.
Right. So then the next question I had, with a 4:3 aspect ratio, are you utilizing that extra space on your stream? Because you have a big chunk, big vertical line on the side. You could put, chat box or something.
That's what I got. Yeah. So just take advantage of all the space that's available. So just out on the side, you've got your cam, and then you've got your chat. And what's great is like when you're cutting like TikTok videos and things like that, I like to cut it to a square so you get the whole, as much view space as possible, and it's already, you get the full screen when you're making your cuts. So yeah, it looks really cool. I'm gonna probably keep pounding on the retro backlog on my streams.
Well, and I think there's an audience for that, and I think that's something unique, so it makes sense. I mean, you have the backlog, you have the hardware. I mean, why not?
Yeah, and I'm kind of the mind of, if people find the wagon and jump on it, that's cool. But when it comes to streaming and stuff, I think a lot of folks, and this is kind of a different conversation entirely, but a lot of folks get wrapped up in metrics when it comes to streaming, especially when they start having success. And I've noted with the streams that I really like that have been successful, the most important ingredient to sustained success is to not give a fuck about how many people are watching your stream, and to not give a fuck about playing what you want to play. Because I've seen it too often, like where people will pigeonhole themselves into doing one thing because they're having success with it or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, people are fickle. The game that's hot right now might not be hot from 5 minutes from now. So, I think it's really important for streamers, for the show to be the actual streamer, not the game that you're playing.
Right. Well, you also run a massive risk of, like you said, when you pigeonhole yourself. I mean, I've seen plenty of streamers that they become that, insert game title here streamer. And then when they try to stream something else, their chat is just, why aren't you playing this game? Right.
That happened to me, actually, when I was doing Gran Turismo. I was averaging like 20 to 30 people towards when I decided to stop, because I just got burnt out on sitting and fucking playing Gran Turismo all the goddamn time.
Yep.
It's like, could I have made something with it if I stuck with it? Yeah, sure. But streaming takes such a large timeshare of what you have as a person. And if you're going to do something that's making you miserable and commit to a streaming schedule with it, you're fucked.
Yep.
Unless you're making like ninja money, you're fucked. Because it gets to a certain point, like where you'll really see these sad cases where people like have their whole livelihoods pinned on it, that have gone full time with it.
Yeah.
And then they can't switch because, it's all built around one game. And then the game falls off and it's like, well, fuck.
Yep.
Now what? So, I think it's really important. And I know it's the slow method to success.
Yeah.
But like one guy I always like to call out that's done that is King Gothalion. He was a Borderlands streamer. And one day he just said, fuck this. And his numbers dove, but he went to something else and then brought more people in. And so it's kind of like, it's this up and down, and like, you can't be scared of the downs if you're going to really do it full time. I think you just kind of have to embrace them.
The most devastating decision I made on my stream, video game wise, was when I streamed Elden Ring. The entire time I streamed Elden Ring, it was like 2 people, 3 people, like the whole fucking time. It was like a month and a half of just streaming to damn near no one.
My head was fucking spinning moderating that chat too.
Yeah, and it would just be people coming and telling me how to play. And it's just like, dude, I've never played a Dark Souls game in my life. I'm getting through it. I'm sorry I'm not playing it the way you like to play it, but I'm getting through the game, so shut up.
Yeah, it's interesting. So like I think with streaming, like the most important thing is that you're actually having fun. If you're streaming a game that's like hard or taxing like Elden Ring was for you, don't do that. Just play that on your own time, or just don't fucking play it. I mean,
well, no, I mean, I was enjoying Elden Ring. I was enjoying Elden Ring.
At times, yes. Mm-hmm. At times you were. But, when you're streaming it, it's like a lot of the enjoyment comes from chat is the star of a stream. And if they're not there, it's like, well, what the fuck am I doing here?
Well, and you also, one of the hardest things about streaming that you don't hear a lot of people talk about is that you have to constantly be talking regardless of if somebody's watching.
It's like a radio show. If someone couldn't see what you're doing, you still need to be entertaining.
Right.
It's very similar to what we do here. It's ridiculously similar, except it's for much longer periods of time. I go back and rewatch some of these streams I've done, and I'm talking about stuff for like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And
you just got to be on.
When I first kick in, and there's maybe not anyone there, I just treat it like it's a radio show. And do the intro, do everything like I'm talking to 1,000 people.
Yep.
And get on with it, because ultimately, I've noticed a lot of people will actually go back and watch the streams afterwards.
It's interesting to watch the VOD numbers go up.
Yeah.
I noticed some VODs will just blow up and get hundreds of views, and you're like, damn, really?
But if you treat it like a show from start to finish, I mean, that's kind of what you have to do. You can't just sit around waiting for people to find you. It's never going to happen if you do that.
Yep.
To tie everything back together, what we were saying is the point of all this is just to kind of create awareness as Power Gamer Podcast, not just as this show in particular, but also the communities. And we have a lot of intersecting points in that, especially for me just starting out again. But to build, a more community through all of those angles. So if you haven't found us over there, that's where you're going to get like 90% more content than you get from the show.
Very true. Yep.
And it's probably more fun too. So I know we're keeping you busy at work. We're keeping you company on your miserable fucking commute to work.
Brother, yeah, absolutely.
But when you're home and it's late and you want to hang out, come find us. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It is episode 90 of the Power Gamer Podcast. Putting up those big numbers, Johnny Dukes.
Hell yeah, baby. We're almost to 100.
So, as always, and I think truly always, we're going to start off for the 90th time speaking about what we've been playing this week. Johnny, I think it went first last week, so why don't we pass the baton to you, sir?
Sure.
What have you been up to this week?
A bunch more Far Cry New Dawn. I can now see why this is a mixed bag as far as fan response. I've seen a lot of people say it's one of the best. Seen a lot of people say it's one of the worst. There's a few really strange choices that they've made in this game. Number one, enemies have health bars, and when you shoot them, there's numbers, which has never been in a Far Cry game. And the weirdest thing is, it almost has a Borderlands or Destiny vibe, because the enemies are now bullet sponges. When I had a fight with a bear, a regular bear, not a boss bear, like in the other Far Cry games, they're like, oh, well, there's the judge has been murdering people in the villages, and he's in that cave up there, and you get a quest to go kill a boss bear. No, I'm just going through the woods, and here's a fucking brown bear. I unloaded like half of my light machine gun clip, which is like 75, 80 rounds to kill the fucking thing.
Very realistic.
And yeah, absolutely. And then there are enemies that they're like bullet sponges. And Far Cry, at least my experience with 6 and my experience with 5, if you shoot someone in the head, they die. And in this one, there's been a couple enemies where I'm like, seriously? Okay, now he's dead. But the other strange decision they made is related to the story. So I'm kind of coming to the realization now that, in my opinion, New Dawn is required viewing after you've played Far Cry 5. I mentioned last week or the week before that I thought the ending for 5 was really strange. And now seeing where New Dawn picks up, and it does it a little late, which is what I found strange, but it's starting to connect those pieces now. I'm starting to see oh, okay, so that this is that, and this was that. Now I know why I'm here. Now I know who that is. It's starting to connect the pieces, and it almost now feels like in Red Dead Redemption 2, when there's the end, and then the game keeps going. That's kind of what New Dawn feels like. There was an end, and then now you fire up New Dawn, and it's like, okay, and then the next part of that story is... and that's what New Dawn is. So, some strange choices overall, but the things I do really like about it, I like kind of the post-apocalyptic vibe. I like the fact that I'm sort of foraging for supplies back for the town. So, I'm not like finding treasure. I'm finding duct tape and pipes and copper, and that's the type of shit that I'm taking back to town to then upgrade the base. But overall, I'm finally, like in my last playthrough today, I think I'm actually hooked again, which is good, because the last couple play sessions I've had with it, I've been kind of forcing myself to play it, which I haven't had that problem with 6 or 5. But the strange choice they made in New Dawn is, I think they waited too long to sort of throw you that line of, hey, here's where the story's headed, and you're like, oh shit, okay, oh, like light bulbs are starting to go off, and now I'm like, okay, cool, now I want to play this game. So having fun with that. I mentioned last week Marvel Snap and how much I enjoyed it. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is my favorite card game right now, period, bar none. I am like level 370. I can't stop playing it. I'm brutally hooked on it. There are tons of metas. There's so much RNG related to the way the different battlegrounds work. If you enjoy card games and have not tried it yet, please try Marvel Snap. It's completely free. I have not felt the need to buy anything. There's plenty of opportunity to get things that I want just by playing the game. And yeah, it's a slam dunk. This game's huge. I love it.
There was an article on it was either Polygon or IGN regarding how friendly the game is towards not having to spend money on it.
Yeah.
So like you had said that I think a few weeks ago when you first started talking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it definitely seems that that's the reputation the game's earning.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, so for me as a parent, I'm pretty selective about what I let my kids install on their tablets. And after a week with Marvel Snap, I introduced them both to it, and I kind of taught them how to do it, and they both dig it, and they both are like, they're enjoying it, and they're learning, and they're starting to. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to build a deck, right? Isn't it? When you go, wait a minute, this card with that card. Oh, well, okay, wait a minute.
And especially when it's not like Hearthstone, where you need to constantly pull a 50 out of your pocket.
Correct. So yeah, so in Hearthstone, I mentioned this last week. The new pack comes out, and Hearthstone goes, "Hey, do you want to get 50 packs for $50?" And if you want to play Hearthstone, you kind of have to do that
because your old cards get made obsolete by the game.
Your old cards get made obsolete. In Marvel Snap, you cannot buy packs of cards. You can't. The only way that you get new cards is by leveling up and unlocking a new random card. That's it. So no one can go, I have $1,000 in my bank account that I'm going to dump in this game and I'm going to have a god tier deck. You can't do that.
So future think then, because eventually they'll want to introduce new stuff, new cards, new game mechanics. So
yes.
Is it already framed like in the outwork of seasons, like where you'll have a season to get as far as you can and build this deck, and then there'll be a new season where they introduce new cards and stuff, or if that's not already in the framework, could you see that being how it goes, maybe?
Well, I mean, there's already a battle pass, and I think that's going to be their moneymaker. There is a battle pass, and what the battle pass does, it gives you new challenges to do, and as you do them, you level up the battle pass. And kind of reminds me of Paths of Valor in Empires and Puzzles. Sort of the same idea. It's like, do this, and you're going to get these points.
That game wants you to spend some fucking money, though.
Good lord, dude. Empires and Puzzles, yeah, man. You fire that game up, and it goes, what about this? What about that? What about... You're like, close. Can I please play the game now? But no, so Marvel Snap, it looks like they're just going to do a Battle Pass system, and it's not required purchase at all. It might smooth your leveling up because, like, oh, hey, you leveled up, here's 500 gold. But it's not a total game changer, and I don't think that people that are spending money are going to have a significant advantage. Just I don't see it. So good on them. I'm excited about it. I dig it. Next up, my wife enjoys video games, but she has to be dragged to them. She will never just pick up a controller and go, let me find something to play. She doesn't do that. You have to go, I think you would like this game. You need to play it. So I finally decided 2 days ago, I am going to install Disney Dreamlight Valley on the Xbox. And I'm going to fire it up. And I'm going to play it for a couple hours while she's sitting on the couch next to me playing on her phone. Within 30 minutes, she's going, oh, wait a minute. Oh, get that. Uh-huh. Wait, no, it's over there. Go talk to that guy. Go do this. And then today, right around after dinner time, my wife picks up the Xbox controller and goes into Disney Dreamlight. And then she plays it for like an hour. And she goes, hey, honey, yeah. After the kids go to bed, you're going to watch me play this game. I was like, that's fine. That's what I wanted. I wanted you to, have a new game to enjoy. So Disney Dreamlight Valley is ridiculously adorable. Anybody that's a fan of, the Animal Crossing sort of thing, and especially if you're a Disney super fan, you're probably already playing this game at this point anyway. But the cuteness factor is like over the top. There was one picture. So you find these orbs and it'll give you like you unlocked a new memory. And the memories are like a drawing or a picture. And on one of them, it was outside of Remy's restaurant. And Remy was making dinner for like Scrooge McDuck or something. And I thought that was cute. And then my wife goes, no, look behind. And behind was Beast from Beauty and the Beast and Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph sharing a banana split ice cream sundae. And I think it might be the cutest thing that I've ever seen in my entire life.
So Amy, who I don't have to drag to video games, she seeks them out.
Yeah.
Probably around the 1,000-hour mark with this thing at this point. Because
I believe that.
She just demolishes things. And
yeah, I mean
it's on days off, it can be from the time she gets up to the time she goes to bed.
She's got the big on hookup.
It was the same thing with Animal Crossing for a while. So
yeah,
it's definitely tickling that itch.
Anybody that's into that sort of thing, it's not really my genre. I don't see myself going through all of it, but it's fun. I enjoyed what I did with it.
Here's something cool. When the game launched, it looked like shit, which Amy didn't care. But it's running at 30 frames per second and just looks like trash. They updated it, and you probably noticed, playing this recently, that the game looks beautiful, and it's running at
it's gorgeous.
Smooth, like 60, 70 frames per second at all times.
It's gorgeous, yeah.
So they definitely have something with it.
Has she had experience with it crashing? It's the only gripe that I've had is it crashes occasionally.
She did mention that, but I don't think it's been as recently for her.
Okay.
Now she also bought in. However much money you can spend on that game to have the most unlocked version of it, she bought. Because she's all in on it at this point.
Got it. Also,
so like the new content with Lion King and all, I think she's already fucking crushed all of it. So.
Right. And then lastly, we've now done 2 weeks of Jackbox Party Pack 9. This is one of the best packs that I think they've ever released. It has Fibbage 4, which Fibbage has always been one of my favorites. For anyone that's not familiar with the Jackbox Party Packs, Jackbox Party Packs they're party games where anyone on a phone, a tablet, an internet browser, you literally just need a browser, can join the game. So let's say you have a bunch of friends over. You could have 8 or 10 people playing these games in the same room together. But for me on stream, I can have a live stream. You can be watching from home. And when I'm starting the game, I'm go to jackbox.tv, put in room code XBCA, and you'll be in the game. And some of the games are trivia. Some of them are drawing. Some of them are just like punchline joke games. Some of them, there's so many fun games. But one of my favorites has always been Fibbage. And the concept with Fibbage is it takes these random facts that most people would not know. Really random shit. Like, in 2006, famed cyclist so-and-so won the new world record in a very strange field of blank. And you have to lie. You have to pull a fib. You have to go, what would be a weird answer for that sounds true? Because then what happens? Everybody puts in their lie, and then it puts everybody's lies up, and it puts one truth. And the concept is you get points if somebody picks your lie, and you get double points if you pick the truth. So ideally, you'd have a bunch of people fall for yours, and you'd look at the list and go, I bet it's that one, and get it right. So Fibbage 4 is the same format that it's always been, and it's always great. So, hey, I'm glad to have another one. The big thing they've changed with Fibbage 4, though, the final round is really fucking clever. So the final round is 2 separate questions with that same blank concept. You have to come up with a lie that you think would be believable for both of them. Now, here's what's interesting. Both of those questions have different answers. So when those prompts come up, there's one correct answer for the left question, there's one correct answer for the right question, and everybody else's lies that they put in one prompt. So you're trying to come up with a prompt that you think would be believable for both of these completely disconnected facts. It's really, really, really cool. On top of that, my new favorite comedy game that they've added is called Junktopia. And Junktopia is a magician wizard has transformed everyone into a frog. And in order to earn your humanship or your personhood back, you have to earn the most money by reselling junk. Are you still with me? Okay. So you go into the junk store, and on your phone, you see 3 really weird junky items. You have to pick the one that you want to buy. They all have different prices, by the way. And then you have to name that item. Then you have 2 facts about that item. Now, again, I said this is a joke game. So you want to make it as funny as you possibly can. So the first one, my first round in my first game, one of the prompts I had was an old black and white photo of this woman with a rather large posterior, and she was lifting her dress up a little bit to show a little ankle. She sort of had her butt toward the camera, was looking back at the camera, and was lifting, showing a little ankle. Pretty risque, right? So I bought that item, and I named it the only known photo of farting Fanny Faye. And fact number 1 was that farting Fanny Faye was known for taking a number 3, which is when you get more shit on the wall than in the bowl. And fact number 2 was that farting Fanny Faye could lift her dress a la Marilyn Monroe using nothing but her taco farts. And it, of course, won all the votes because, fart jokes work. But
I had the doll that was in pieces.
Yeah.
And I named it the Jeffrey Dahmer Playtime. Yeah, I'm a Quiplash assassin and Madverse City assassin when it comes to the Jackbox games. Yeah, I missed this Friday because me and Amy went out to the RuPaul Drag Race show at MGM.
Yeah, how was that, by the way?
It was great. It was a really good show. So
I believe that.
They pulled out all the stops. The set was awesome.
So if anybody's ever played any of the other Jackbox Party Pack and they're wondering if 9 is worth buying, I think it's one of their best releases.
They're all worth buying to some extent.
They're all worth buying. I own all of them, and I don't regret buying any of them. And especially if you have people over. I mean, I've probably on 20 separate occasions now had a bunch of people over to my house, bring some drinks, and play these party games, and they're so much fun. And again, anybody could join. Like you could play with your mom and your dad. They could sit and play these games.
We're overdue for a night, by the way.
We do need a party pack night for sure.
All right, so that wraps up your list. Let's move it on here to what I've been playing this week. So I've been adding more games to the completed list. I mentioned earlier that I had streamed Resident Evil 3 Remake, and last week, of course, that I beat Resident Evil 2 Remake. So you have to address the 800-pound gorilla of the comparison between the two. And 2 seems to get a lot more love than 3, which is fine. But I think that was true, too, on the original releases. So just in terms of the quality level, I think between both of them, it's pretty damn equal. And the improvements made to both are great. The Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, he's a lot less daunting than Mr. X is in Resident Evil 2. But he's a son of a bitch. So he's not constantly chasing you through the levels like Mr. X is, which I think was the brilliance of Resident Evil 2, is just having to deal with that constant presence of Mr. X. But what Resident Evil 3 gets right is that your encounters with Nemesis feel a lot fucking scarier than they did in the original Resident Evil 3. Original Resident Evil 3, you pulled out a grenade launcher, you pumped 9 grenades into them, and then you took off, and that was it. This Nemesis, no. And the fights with them are just better. So I think in terms of actually improving the original game, Resident Evil 3 succeeds at that more, where it improves the original Resident Evil 3 more than Resident Evil 2 Remake improved Resident Evil 2. That being said, stick me on a desert island and I have one or the other, we're going with 2. But I think in terms of improving upon the original, Resident Evil 3 gets the hat tip there.
I think why people put Resident Evil 2 on a little bit of a higher pedestal than the third one is the quality jump that 2 was. I mean, 2 was a holy shit game when it came out. I mean, 2 was an absolute mind blower. If you had a PlayStation, you had Resident Evil 2, and because it was that big of a jump. So that's going to buy you a lot of gravitas when you're like the oh shit game. Whereas 3 was just kind of more of the same, and it's still a great game, but it wasn't like you fired it up and were like, oh my god, we're here.
I love Resident Evil 3 because the scope of the game is just so much bigger.
I agree.
Than the previous 2.
Totally.
Yep. So yeah, we completed Resident Evil 3 Remake. It's wonderful. It's very good. So if you were like me and have been sleeping on it for a while, please don't sleep on it any longer.
I'm guilty of that.
It's about an 8.8. So it's very good.
Awesome.
Next up, Grid Legends. So I did beat Grid Legends, and I do actually want to talk about Grid Legends because we don't get a chance to go over many racing games here on the channel. Grid Legends, first and foremost, you have to make the comparison once again to the Grid game that came out a few years ago, which was sort of a reboot for Grid. For those less familiar with the series, Grid is made by Codemasters. Codemasters is the basically king of many forms of racing. They make the Dirt series, they make the F1 series, and then they also had this third series back in the day called Grid. And so Grid got a relaunch, and the game that came out, what was it, maybe 2019, 2020, somewhere around there?
Something like that.
Was okay. It was all right. Yeah. It was fine. I put about 35 hours into it. I'm like, this is okay. Grid Legends really did something different. And I will compare Grid Legends more so to Need for Speed 2016. And for those that have played both, you know exactly why I'm going there. What's cool with Grid Legends is it introduces something that the first Grid game just didn't have, and I think it's important for a good arcade racer. Like many of the good Need for Speed games, so like Need for Speed Underground, Need for Speed Most Wanted, Need for Speed 2016. And it's a simple thing that gets overlooked way too much in the racing genre, and that's having an engaging story. Grid Legends has a fantastic story to it. It's awesome. It's about an underdog race team that needs a new driver, enter you, that's underperforming, and the team's at risk of getting shut down. And so through your efforts, you save the team and win the championship. So it's a cliche story, but what's cool with it is in between each race, there's a cutscene that's acted by actual actors. And it's a little corny, but it's surprisingly well done. And it needs to be corny for a racing game. I mean, the drama that happens in racing, you know, NASCAR, F1, whatever. It's okay, but it's probably not good enough for a video game. So yeah, you go through this whole story, and the main campaign was 36. I think it was 36 races. So it's not terribly long. It takes a few hours to beat. But it's really good. It's really good. It plays great with a controller. It's Simcade feels, but you can tune it. Like if you want a true sim feel in Grid, you can achieve that. And even if you want to play it with a wheel and pedal kit, you can achieve that as well. But I decided, for my viewpoint of this game, to not treat it like a sim game. I've got that fucking covered. And let's just play it with
in spades.
Let's just play it with a controller and have fun with it. And it was great. It plays really well. The game's tuned perfectly. It's on Game Pass, so like if you don't want to sink money into it, you can play it there. It was a free game on Amazon, so most of you probably claimed it there and just haven't touched it yet. It's really good. It's really good, and I had a good time with it. I think Codemasters definitely took a step in the right direction with Grid Legends, and yeah, it was good to actually play a racing game that was good. So you're not caring about what car you get. You're not doing any customization or anything. You know, when you're playing the story of the game, you're just, here's the race, here's the car. Go get them. Behind that, it has a more traditional, you know, unlock cars. It has multiplayer and all that. I'm like, I've done that a million times. I don't need to do that again.
Right.
So yeah, I just played the story and it was really good. So if I'm judging it just on that, it's like a 7.8 somewhere in there, which is fantastic for a racing game. So good. If you've got the an itch to play a racing game that's short and sweet, it's not going to demand 30, 40 hours of your time like a Need for Speed game is. And Need for Speed games have also been littered with microtransactions of the past few years and terrible. Play Grid Legends. You probably don't have to pay anything to play it. And if you have little ones that you want to put all the assists on and just throw them a controller, they'll have a blast. So Grid Legends, good game. Definitely worth a play if you like arcade racing. I made a brief return to No Man's Sky. That game's not for me. I played a little bit of it and I'm like, it's really cool, but it's a menu management simulator. There's so much clicking on tiles and menus.
Bro, you ain't kidding.
And it just drives me up a wall. So
I've tried probably a dozen times now because I keep seeing people having fun with it, and I keep seeing people going, "Oh man, No Man's Sky is incredible now." You've
got to be into like space sims and Minecraft equally,
right,
to enjoy the game. Right. So I have fun watching other people play it. So it sounds like you do too. But yeah, I don't think I'll be picking that up again. Scorn. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I went back to Scorn and progressed nicely, actually, in Scorn. More to be said on this game later, but it's not great. It's probably the easiest way.
Is there still no hint at all as to what is happening?
There's nothing. Yeah, I mean, you're just solving.
No, it's just puzzle after puzzle.
You're just solving weird fucking puzzles and dealing with a combat system that's fucking terrible. It kind of feels like a modern take on the old PC freeware kind of game.
Okay.
And yeah, that's where I'm at with it. So I don't think that game's at risk of winning any GOTYs this year. Finally, I've been playing Silent Hill, the original PlayStation, and I don't think there's much that needs to be said about this game. It's an absolute fucking masterpiece.
It is.
It's mind-bending to think of what it was doing on the PS1 when it came out. It's just one of the best games ever made ever. And it still holds up fine, in my opinion. Granted, I'm a little more used to dealing with old games than others, so I have the rose-colored glasses on. But it's great. It's really good. And it's fucking terrifying. You don't even see like the dated graphics after like 10 minutes with it. You're just like, what terrified. The sound design in it is just some of the best I've ever heard ever. And what I love with it, unlike Resident Evil, and you'll see this on my TikTok, there's like several videos of me going, oh, this is about to happen. Oh, this is about to happen. Silent Hill intentionally does things to set that feeling up in you and then doesn't do it.
Yep.
And you're like, and that is the worst feeling of all, is when it's leading you to think that something terrible is about, and then just nothing happens.
Yeah.
But then, like, you'll go into an elevator and be like, okay, I've been on the first floor, second, third. Let's go up here to the fourth, and you hit the button for the fourth. And then, like, 10 minutes later, you're still running around, and you're like, let's go back in this elevator. And you'll notice, like, the fourth floor is missing now. What? Wait a second. Did I imagine that? It fucks with you on such a deep level, and it's terrifying. So love the original Silent Hill game.
Yeah, I find it weird that they're doing a remake of Silent Hill 2 first.
I don't think it's weird. Silent Hill 2 is the perennial game in the series, because it really fell off fucking hard after Silent Hill 2. But Silent Hill 2 is like the game. So if you're going to remake one of the two is the one to do. So I think it's probably a wait and see kind of thing. Like, all right, let's get fucking Bloober Team in here and remake this game, and then see how it does. Yeah. But
I mean, we talked about it last week. I think the Silent Hill 2 remake's going to make a lot of money.
I don't know. I think that Konami showed that they're not very committed by hiring Bloober Team. That's my 2 cents. Is you're taking one of the most, well, maybe the most important horror game of all time, and you're handling it to a AA squad? What? Huh? You know how many people would fall over themselves to fucking do that? I mean, they almost got Kojima to do it, but they treated him like shit, so that didn't work out. So I like that Konami's coming back. Come back to us, Konami. You have so much great IP.
Yep.
But don't fuck this up. And giving it to Bloober is like, all right, let's see if they take the next step. At least they don't have to write any story. It's all there.
How? Sorry to sideline, but how is Konami not printing money by making fucking Metroidvania games? Jesus Christ. Make a 2D pixely style Castlevania game and print money.
They've just been letting everyone else do it, you know?
I know. Those games sell. Dead Cells, Bloodstained, Blasphemous. There's so many games that are in that genre. And if Konami said, hey, look, we found the original writer from Symphony of the Night. We got the original composer from this game. And here's
Castlevania on the badge, and that's it.
Print money, boys. What are you doing?
Yeah. Metal Gear Solid laying dormant for as long as it has.
I just don't even get me started.
So, all right, that wraps up what we've been playing this week. Let's touch quickly on a couple of wonderful news items. So, first stop, we're going to talk in continuation of something that we discussed a few weeks ago when we were talking about CD Projekt Red coming out with a slew of announcements with weird, ambiguous code names. So,
yep, we got one of them.
Yeah,
now.
so looking through Game Informer, CD Projekt Red reveals codename Canis Majoris is a remake of the first Witcher game. So earlier this month, CD Projekt Red announced that it was developing a new Cyberpunk game, multiple Witcher games, and a new IP. One of those Witcher games was given the codename Canis Majoris, and CD Projekt Red called it a full-fledged Witcher title. Now, the company has revealed that it's actually a remake of the very first Witcher game. The official Witcher Twitter account posted the news, revealing that CD Projekt Red is working with developer Fool's Theory to make The Witcher using Unreal Engine 5. Peace out, Red Engine. Fool's Theory developed 7 Enhanced Edition and 7 Drowned Pass, but has also provided developmental support on games like Divinity Original Sin 2, Baldur's Gate 3, and the criminally underrated Outriders. So we keep talking about games that need remakes, and I'm surprised neither one of us thought of this. The original Witcher game so needs a remake. That game is dated as
really does.
Fuck.
Super dated. Yeah, I mean, we've had the conversation a dozen times now of stop making remakes for games that don't need remakes and make remakes for games that do need remakes. And you're right, the first Witcher, because my experience with the Witcher franchise was you told me how great the first one was, and I just sort of like put that nugget in the back of my head. And then fast forward years later, Witcher 3 came out, it was winning all these awards, and I saw it's like on Amazon for $20. I said, all right, let me give this game a shot. And I fell in love with it, and y'all have heard me talk about it. It's probably not probably. It's one of my favorite games of all time. So then after I beat the pants off that game, I went, all right, I'm going to go back through them. And I went back to the first one, and about, 2 hours, 3 hours in, I was like, man, I can't do it.
It's a tough one.
The combat's too janky. The graphics are real janky. It's super dated. It's just really, really dated. And if you go backwards, it's a tough experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, it came out very early on PC only when the 360 and PS3 were just coming out. So it was like really at the end of one of the jankest periods of video games that it came out. And its combat system, for someone that has experience with Witcher 2 and 3 and then tries to go back to 1, you're in for a rude awakening. It's not the same kind of game. Yeah, it has Geralt.
Not at all.
You're in the same world. The world is great.
Yep.
But it's like a third-person camera angled Baldur's Gate. And that can be very tough to deal with because you're just holding your mouse clicked on certain things and pausing a lot and casting spells, and alchemy is very important. It's a strange game. So I'm curious to see how this is done. I can't imagine that they're going to preserve anything other than the world and the story. I would be shocked if it uses the same combat system and combat mechanics.
With how big of a hit that Witcher 3 has been for them, I don't see them looking back like that. I think they're going to do a remake, and it's going to play and feel like Witcher 3.
I don't know about all of that, because what's interesting with the original Witcher game is it's not an open world game. It's an instanced game. So like you'll go to sort of like the first Dragon Age game is. You have this big map, but it's just certain areas that you go and operate in. So I'm very curious to see more details. We're years away from a finished product, but I'll be curious to see how they do this.
Man, Witcher 1 in Unreal 5 engine.
It's going to be nuts.
It's going to be nuts.
It's your time now to go back and play the original so you can appreciate the remake when it comes out. Next up, the Callisto Protocol is in the news for, in my opinion, all the right reasons. So, also spotted on Game Informer, the Callisto Protocol's Japanese version has been canceled due to its violent content. Now, think about that for a second. Think about some Japanese games with violent content. And then think about this game being canceled because of that in Japan. Oh, my goodness.
When I saw this headline, the first thing I thought of was, wait, what about Evil Within? I mean, Evil Within is like bodies through grinders and people getting their faces drilled into and all kinds of fucked up shit. And that came out in Japan, no problem.
So the Callisto Protocol's Japanese version has been canceled due to the game's violent content and the rating it received in Japan, or lack thereof as a result. The news comes from Callisto Protocol's Japanese Twitter account, which reveals that the game could not achieve an age rating with the CERO. That's like their ESRB. As a result, it cannot be allowed to release as in the country. Here's what the studio had to say. as translated by Eurogamer. So, quote, the Callisto Protocol has decided to stop the release of the Japanese version. As of now, the CERO rating cannot be passed. We've decided that we would no longer be able to provide you with the experience you need. We hope everyone in Japan will understand. If you have already pre-ordered, we will refund you. I love this. I love this because I hate Mike Dawson fucking loves himself some freedom. And I love reminders that I live in a country that actually fucking has it to an extent. To a pretty good extent. Some goddamn freedom. And if I want to play a video game where bodies are getting munched up by grinders and I'm getting mutilated and fucked by space zombies, so goddamn be it. And I don't want that shit watered down for anybody. Japan's got some fucked up shit, okay, in their movies, in their games. So I don't know what's going on here.
I know.
But this makes me excited for it. Because when is the last time that we've had a game that got this kind of attention? We used to get it all the time, you know, back in the Tipper Gore days and all the extremely conservative parents and all that shit.
Yeah.
We used to get it all the time. Manhunt, you know.
Yep.
Where people would lose their minds over the violence in video games. But that shit's become such commonplace and so diluted and so normal, you know, that we're giving fucking developers PTSD working on Mortal Kombat. Nobody bats an eye. So I'm thinking it's not just the amount of violence this game has, because all games have violence now, but it's the situations and how it's inflicted upon the player that must be grotesque. So this news excites me greatly.
Same.
Finally, this one's a bit of a blower. As reported by Video Games Chronicle, God of War Ragnarok is reportedly being sold at some retail stores 10 days before release. Hoops, causing significant story spoilers to appear across the internet. Yikes. Several social media users have begun posting significant late game spoilers this past weekend, including a video understood to be the entire conclusion of the game. Sony Santa Monica creative director Cory Barlog took to Twitter to express his frustration with the situation. Quote, a retailer selling the game nearly 2 weeks before release. Just so disappointing, he wrote. Sorry to everyone that you have to dodge the spoilers if you want to play the game fresh. Barlog continued, completely fucking stupid you have to do this. This is not at all how any of us at Santa Monica Studios wanted things to go. He adds, you know, right now I can really understand the benefit of having just an installer on the physical disc, seemingly referencing the news that Modern Warfare 2's retail disc contains a tiny fraction of the game. Ragnarok's narrative director also took to social media to vent his frustration. Just stay away from social media, Reddit, YouTube, etc., unless you're really confident in your ability to mute hashtags and block people. I'm really sorry if anyone's had our game spoiled in any way. We've really tried to keep things fresh and surprising for you. Unfortunately, it's now far more than one. Trolls weaponizing spoilers, retailers breaking street date. You name it. Oh my goodness, does this shit piss me off? It always does. And two reasons, right? So you heard it in Cory Barlog's tweet. What is the one thing that I think is the worst thing ever? Not actually owning your games, right? So if every game that you go out and buy is just an access point to where you have to download something, you don't own shit. You own nothing. That disc is worthless. The whole reason I'm able to go back and enjoy this game, Silent Hill, all these years later, is because I fucking own it. And I don't need an internet connection to enjoy it. I can pop it in, sit down, play it, and that's it.
Yep.
So where do you stand on this, Johnny? What do you think about what's going on right now with Ragnarok?
Well, I hate internet trolls that weaponize spoilers. I just don't understand what type of person, it's like the people that drove. I remember way back in the day when the Harry Potter books were coming out new, and I would see headlines. People were going to the Barnes and Noble line, people waiting in line, and were driving by going, Snape kills Dumbledore, Snape kills Dumbledore. Like, people are waiting in line to buy this brand new book, and like people are driving by ruining it for them. I don't understand that person. I don't understand what satisfaction that gives you. I don't understand what kind of piece of shit you have to be for that to be how you get kicks. But it is. I mean, we've talked on multiple occasions about physical media versus digital media. What do you own? What do you not own? And we're in an important chapter right now. Modern Warfare 2 just came out. And the game disc has, I think it's 760 megabytes on it.
Yeah, it's not the whole game.
It's not the game. You put the game in and it goes, cool, you own the game, let's download the game. So in the example you gave, 20 years from now, you decide, I want to fire up Modern Warfare 2. If the server's been pulled, if the download's not there anymore, you can't. So with what's probably going to be the top-selling game of 2022, you can't physically own it forever and ever, amen. If the apocalypse comes and the internet is pulled off and you're searching through the rubble and you're like, oh my god, I found a Modern Warfare 2 disc, you're not going to be able to play it.
It's pointless.
And that sucks. Sucks. So, especially that they're going, we understand why people do this now, and you're going, well, great. So now they're going to start doing it. And then if they're doing it, who's not going to do it? So then at that point, what is the point of buying the disc if the game's not on it?
There's 0 point to buying a disc if you don't have something that you can just plug in and use without an internet connection. There's 0 point.
Right. Correct. If I can't disconnect the internet, put in the disc, and play the game, then the game's not on the disc.
Right. Stupid. So the other side of this coin, whoever the retailers are that have sold this game early need to face fucking awful legal sanctions. We need them named so that me as a consumer cannot spend my money with them anymore. Right?
Yep.
So I need to know what retailers did this. Right? Because, I mean, we all like to be treated equally. If everyone can't go and buy this, then it shouldn't be being sold, period. So whoever internally within those companies is responsible for that need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
Kiss your job goodbye. Kiss your benefits goodbye. If you had stock options, kiss them fucking goodbye. And get on with your life because you fucked up. Something simple.
Well, and I remember years ago when you and I worked at Guitar Center, one of the shopping centers just down the road from us, there was like, it was next to the FedEx, there was like an electronics video store. They sold like movies and games and stuff. It wasn't Best Buy. It was like a small little chain thing. And I remember one of my coworkers going, oh, dude, they're selling such and such early. The game, I'm like, that game doesn't come out till Friday. And they're like, they got it. They're selling it. You have to ask them for it, but they've got it. They're selling them. And I literally, at that moment, I was like, never shopping there again.
Yeah.
If that's how you're going to pull a profit, is just, we'll sell it 4 days early. Like, fuck you, man.
Yeah,
that's just awful.
Whether it's incompetence or whatever. Because I think it's probably incompetence that's caused this.
Yeah, it's probably a handful of stores that weren't big chains, had no idea what it was, opened the box and went, oh, I'll put it up on the shelf.
I mean, I'm all for whatever stores that are not being able to fucking sell video games anymore, period.
Yep.
You know,
yep.
If my solution to owning a disc with the actual game on it is that we have to cut out the retailer because they can't follow simple fucking instructions, and I just need to buy it directly from the game publisher, then fuck them. Fine. I
Sure.
hate buying direct because buying direct kills jobs. You know, I see it
Correct.
a ton in my industry, where, you know, they're always trying to these manufacturers are always trying to figure out ways to cut out the retailer so they can make more profit. Don't do that. You're fucking yourself, and you're fucking everyone. So, it's infuriating. And I feel bad for everyone at Santa Monica Studio that's worked their brains out on this game. The industry is so quick to point and complain about crunch and things, or as I like to call it, passion of employees. Because at any point in time, you can say, we're done working on this game. Fucking lick a stamp and send it. No, the passion that goes in, that extra work, all that time and energy invested, just to have it spoiled by some fucking idiot at a retail store, unacceptable. So this sucks for them. I feel bad for everyone at Sony Santa Monica, and hopefully you sue them into the ground.
And now we all have to be careful on the internet.
Yeah, so I'm glad the story's out there, so I know that, I know now. But that's stupid. So, all right, that's enough of that, Johnny. I think we're ready for the final segment of episode 90 here. That segment is, of course, called Ladies and gentlemen, that's right. It's time for One Up. Johnny, you'll go first.
Sure. So I've made a strange decision of something I want to try. I really want a Steam Deck. I don't need a Steam Deck. The act of trying to talk my wife into allowing me to buy a Steam Deck would be more pain than it would be worth, right? I have a fucking $4,000 PC next to me. Why on earth would I need a $400 handheld Steam Deck? Well, here's my solution. I am going to sell Steam trading cards until I've earned enough in my Steam wallet to buy a Steam Deck. Now, I fully realize this is going to take me probably over a year. But I have so many games on Steam that if I fire up Tales of Vesperia when I go to bed and tab out, and I leave it open the whole time I'm at work, the whole time, and then I get home at the end of the day, and I close that game out, and it says, you have 4 new items in your inventory. Okay, let's look at those trading cards. This one's worth 10 cents, that one's worth 8 cents, this one's worth 20 cents, that one's worth 10 cents. So I'm going to earn, 50 cents, $1 here, $1 there, 50 cents, $1 here, $1 there. It might take me a year and a half, but you know what? It won't cost me anything. It's not really much effort at all. And I just want to see if it's possible. So a request for the Power Gamer podcast listeners. If any of you are Steam players and you have a big old stack of Steam trading cards that you never use, you never try to resell on the market, you have no use for them whatsoever, send us a DM on Twitter and hook me up. Send me your trading cards. I'll sell them. I'll sell them for 4 cents a pop, 8 cents a pop. Because when I go, hey, honey, guess what I got for free? Now I'm not getting in shit anymore. So, yeah, I'm going to try to sell Steam trading cards until I can buy a Steam Deck.
That's an impressive endeavor there, Johnny.
Hey, you know what? One of our first episodes I talked about, I have hundreds and hundreds of Steam trading cards. I'm going to see how much money I can get out of selling them. And I sold them all, and I got $40, $50. I bought a video game with it. So it does add up.
My one up this week is one that I've called out before, but I'm on a different season now. The Expanse is the best sci-fi show I've ever watched in my life. Holy fuck, is it good? It's great. It's really great.
Big words, damn.
And season 1 and 2 is good. Season 1 and 2 are good. Season 3 is fucking mind-blowing. It just slowly from season 1, the stakes go up and up and up. And it's a continuation of the story. Like, it's not something you can jump around in. You need to start from the start and go forward. You cannot just jump in anywhere. Got to start from the beginning and work your way forward. It's impossibly good. It's impossibly good.
Have you watched Battlestar Galactica?
I have. I'm a big fan of
Okay.
the remade Battlestar Galactica.
Me too.
This is much better.
And you're, wow. Okay.
This is much better. Like,
that's big words.
this,
Okay.
this is, you know how I often say, like, man, I'm really tired of remakes. I'm really tired of the same shit over and over again. Why can't modern people think of something new that's cool? Why can't that happen? The Expanse is it. Like, if you want something that's better than Star Trek, go watch The Expanse. You want something that's, like, infinitely more interesting than any of these fucking garbage Star Wars shows that are coming out? Watch The Expanse. It's so much better. It's ridiculous that people will invest all of this time and energy into these fucking shitty Star Wars shows on Disney, including Andor. It's good for a Star Wars show. It still fucking sucks. And then not watch The Expanse.
Bro, I am not going to let you drop that. How far have you watched
I
into
watched
Andor?
until I literally couldn't watch it anymore because it's so bad.
Oh my God, I cannot speak to you anymore. I'm sorry. Andor is the best thing Star Wars has done since the original
I
trilogy.
agree.
It's better than the sequel trilogy. It's better than Mandalorian, and you just said it was bad.
Well, you just named
You
things
used
that
Andor
are
and
bad. The sequel trilogy, that's a steaming hot pile of fucking bantha shit.
Oh God. Okay.
Seriously, you know the sequel trilogy is garbage. It's hot garbage.
Right. Rise of Skywalker was.
Rise of Skywalker was just, that is the very definition of garbage.
No argument.
Return of the not Return of the Jedi. Last Jedi would be great if it was all just that, but it's not. And so, like, everything Star Wars has been doing, you know, with maybe exception to just The Mandalorian, has just not been it. Like, it's.
Did you hold on? Just pause for a second. Have you got to episode 6 of Andor?
I made it through episode 3.5 before I said, I can't watch any more of this. This is terrible.
Oh my God. Okay, I can't talk to you. We're done. Everybody have a good night.
What I can tell you, and something hopefully you can recognize, is I'm a major nerd and I love science fiction. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite genre, but I have a low tolerance for bullshit. And when it appears, I can't just gloss over it like I can with video games. You know, Cyberpunk 2077 on PS4, I can do that. I can't do these TV shows that just aren't good. And I don't mean aren't good by like, can I just throw my brain in a bucket for a while and enjoy this? Because surely I could. But I want something that's actually engaging and actually moving my mind forward and something new. You know, all this Star Wars stuff is great, but it's going off content from the fucking 70s.
Man, Andor, and I have to just fully disagree with you there. Andor is all of those things.
Whatever. It's still Star Wars. And my point is, Amazon has done something truly special with The Expanse. They have created something from nothing that is incredible. And it deserves to be in the conversation with the best sci-fi that's out there. And, you know, unfortunately, I think among certain groups it is. But overwhelmingly, yeah, I mean, more people will be like a moth to the flame with the next thing that says Star Wars in front of it. Or Star Trek or whatever. And it's like, guys, I'm telling you, that's fine. If you love Star Wars like Johnny does and you're enjoying Andor, that's fine. That's cool. I know I'm not in that group.
I'm halfway through season 1 on The Expanse and I'm bored to tears.
The Expanse is just fucking out of control good. It's so well done. 1 and 2, kind of slow, but boy, when you get to season 3, it's just fucking amazing. Little fast forward.
So here, let's make a deal. I will continue to watch The Expanse through, let's say, halfway through season 2, and you can agree to watch Andor up to episode 6. So I'm signing on for much more than you are. Because, dude, where they're headed with Andor the amount of anti-government, anti-military, anti-industry complex, like, it's getting into some heavy territory that Star Wars has never fucked with, and I think you would really enjoy what they've done.
Okay. Here's the deal.
Because you're sort of like boots on the ground right now. The world in Andor doesn't really expand out until like episode 5.
Here's
6.
the deal. All right, we need to have some common ground here, so I know I'm not wasting my time.
Okay.
Agree or disagree? Book of Boba Fett is garbage.
Agree.
Fantastic.
It had its moments, but most of it was
Hot,
garbage, yeah.
steaming garbage. Obi-Wan was garbage.
Obi-Wan was okay. There were a few episodes that were great, and I'd say half of the episodes were good and half were
It didn't
bad.
even make any fucking sense. Any of it. It was all completely unnecessary. Terrible.
I don't really disagree there. I wasn't a huge fan. There were a few moments that made me happy. Most of it was yawn.
Pure pain. All right.
Yep.
So if we can agree on those things, and I'm not just setting myself up for trying to sit through that shit again.
No, I really, truly think that Andor is doing something very different, and I think you're not giving it enough credit to get to that point. It is drastically different.
I'm going to amend
laser
our
swords
deal
and
slightly.
pew-pews and...
You need to finish season 2 and tell me if you can stop watching.
Well, then you have to watch the whole season of Andor. I'm not agreeing to watch an entire season and a half
of Andor. Okay?
Okay.
But you get to the end of season 2, and let's see if you're not hooked by that point.
Okay, deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been...
We shake on it.
Virtual shake. Well, yes, virtual shake. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a good show. Damn good show. Fucking Hodgwoods. That wraps us up for this week. So until next time, I'm Mike Dawson.
And I'm Johnny Paulus.
Tune in next time. Take care.
Catch you on the flip-flop.
Ooh, yeah.